Tapon. What is a Tapon? Okay. Well, picture this. We're talking about France here. Okay. And back in those days, if you wanted merchandise to go to, say, Great Britain or even to the New World, you had to put it on sailing ships. Sort of like those pirate ships, only these were like owned by the British military or something like that. And even if it was just a merchant ship, the merchant ships were usually escorted by official British ships. The reason for that, or even French ships or whatever, the reason for that is because of pirates. So if you were a merchant ship, a cluster of merchant ships would go out and they'd be escorted by military ships to get to wherever they were going. It'd be Great Britain or Spain or Italy or even to the New World, the United States. Now, if you had liquid or fine powdered cargo, it had to be shipped in a keg. Now, I'm sure you guys have all seen pictures of kegs. I mean, you go to these alcoholic establishments and they have these kegs of beer, that type of thing. Well, these were made of wood. Okay. Now, you got to keep in mind, when these ships set sail, they encountered all kinds of rough weather. They encountered pirates, you name it. They encountered all kinds of problems. So kegs would occasionally develop little holes. Now, if they were discovered quickly enough, and usually they were, then the guy on the ship who discovered it would be able to immediately grab a tapon, which was a piece of cloth, and stuff it in that little hole, and that would stop the leak. Okay? And it would be better just to lose a little bit of product than to lose the whole dang thing. Trust me on this. I mean, the entire fortune of the ship depended on them stopping those kind of leaks. Now, let's fast forward a few years. Okay? You have the muzzle-loading muskets. Okay? And one of the things was that if you had a small stream or something like that, and it really wasn't too deep, you could actually have soldiers walk across, well, not across the water, but kind of through the water. Okay? You have the horses go through in the whole 9 yards. It wasn't too deep. And you could cross small streams and little tiny rivers without having to get a boat. Now, yes, that would get the soldiers wet, no question about it. But it'd save you from having to carry a bunch of boats with you. Okay. Now, obviously, if you have a musket-firing weapon, the one thing you don't want to do is get it wet. So they'd order the soldiers to hold the weapons above their heads while they walked across. Now, can you imagine holding a musket-loading weapon like this over your head as you walk across a shallow stream or something like that? After a while, your arms would get tired. And when they did, bloop, musket and went into the water. Now, what they would do is they would give these soldiers things called tampons. Okay? And these tampons were made of wood. And they were little wooden cork type things. And what they do is they stuff it in the muzzle of the weapon, in the hopes that even if the weapon hit the water and got wet, at least the inside of the weapon would be unaffected. Only the outside would be affected. So, there you go. That's why they did that. Okay? So, we go from tapon to tampion to tampon. Alright, now were these tampons around for a lot longer than the tapons and the tampions? Yes, they were. Okay. It was the Egyptians that first came up with the idea. And what they would use at that time was called softened papyrus. Ever heard of papyrus? Yes, this is the same papyrus that Egyptians and even Israelites would use as paper to write down things that were important. Matter of fact, if you look at ancient Israeli scrolls, you'll see they're made of papyrus. Okay? And so what they do is they take this papyrus and they write down certain things and they save it for posterity. Now the thing is, if you soften the papyrus enough, well, it could be used as a tampon. I don't think it'd be the most comfortable thing in the world, but it could be used. Now, later on, the Roman Empire came along. They started using wool. And of course, other societies have used other things. The Orientals used paper, because they had a lot of paper in the Oriental areas. They were talking about China, and we're talking about Japan. You're also talking about Korea, that type of area. Other places used vegetable fibers. Of course, I can't imagine somebody using like a corn stalk to do this, but okay. Now, if you were near an ocean area and you could do enough snorkeling, you could find a bunch of sponges. Now, sponges were used for all kinds of stuff. You use sponges probably every day, cleaning kitchen sinks and kitchen cabinets and that kind of thing. Well, no different here. They'd take the spongy material and they'd make a tampon out of it. Some people even use grass. Oh yeah, we'll mow our yards and we'll use that to... Yeah, I don't think so. And then finally, they started using cotton. Yes, the very same cotton that you use for your t-shirts and your underwear. Well, you get the picture. The modern use of cotton was developed back in 1929 by a Dr. Earl Haas. Okay? And if you want to look up his history, you go right ahead. But that's the guy who did it. It's amazing that tampons were invented by guys. There you go. Of course, they've been all modernized by gals, but they were originally invented by guys, so there you go. Anyway, what about the plastic applicators? Well, plastic applicators are usually made of petroleum products. As we all know, petroleum products like that, plastic applicator, considering the fact of how long it takes for those kind of things to dissolve in the environment, it's not a good thing to have environment-like. However, they are starting to use, they're trying to refine sugar cane to make a petroleum product that then can be used for your plastic applicators. And if you're trying to make your plastic applicators out of sugar cane, well, that might biodegrade a little bit faster. A lot more friendly to the environment. Now, who manufactures these tampons? Well, there are two main companies. Actually, there's three. You have the people that make the OB. Okay. You also have the Playtex Products Incorporated. And then you have Procter & Gamble, who makes your Tampax. Okay. Now, the cords for these tampons are made out of polyester, which is something that a lot of ladies do not know. Now, a typical tampon can take up to 6 months to biodegrade. And that could create a problem. And create a health problem because, let's just face it, there are some women out there who have diseases. And they're diseases of the blood. And so therefore, when blood hits that kind of thing, and it's left out in the environment, animals get those diseases, humans get those diseases, there you go. But the other thing is that you've got these products out there and they take that long to biodegrade. That's a long time. So tampon companies, and including pad companies, because you say, well, we'll just use pads. Well, pads can take even longer to biodegrade. They need to make more biodegradable products that are just as effective, biodegradable. And so therefore, we can keep the disease level down to a minimum. Because I don't think you want wildlife to get your diseases, and I certainly don't think you want to bring up any more human contamination than what we already got. So there you go. I mean, I hate to think that somebody got a sexually transmitted disease because they came in contact with a tampon or a pad. You know, not a good idea. But anyway, so it has become a health issue. And so hopefully these companies will make more biodegradable products, which in turn will keep people safe. Anyway, that's the basic facts about the Tapon, which became tampon. Okay, and some of its uses along the way, and how some of the things got done the way they did. I thought these would be very interesting facts to know. And I think everybody should know this, because after all, you're talking about health risks and everything else. This is the kind of thing people need to know. It's a lot of history. So hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. If you have any questions or comments, leave them right down here below. I will tell you more in a future video, so stay tuned.